Does it feel like a mystery to you how and if men fall in love? How is it even possible that you can feel so attached to a man only to find out all this time he's felt nothing for you? Do men even have emotions? Well, what if I told you men can fall in love, but not in the way you think they will? Which is why on today's show, we're going to be discussing everything you need to know about how men fall in love. That way you can know for sure if the guy you want is truly falling for you or not. Point number one is about openness. Why? Because men need very important things to be in place before falling in love is even a possibility. What you might not really understand about guys is depending on the time you meet him in his life, he could either be a perfect partner to you or a horrible partner based on where he's at mentally. Let me explain this to you in a visual sense. Obviously, when you have a closed door, what cannot get through? Nothing, right? It's very difficult for things to get through a closed door, whether it be energy, feelings, thoughts, emotions, perspective, either way, nothing can flow in or out. When you have an open door, now all of a sudden you can have a flow, right? A flow of things coming in and a flow of things going out, right? So the reason I say this, right? Because you want to think of the flow as energy. And the energy that is flowing in and out is the feeling and the idea that this man is open to falling in love as a possibility, that he could meet a woman as amazing as you. And there's a possibility the two of you might connect and bond so deeply that he starts to feel himself feeling feelings that he's never felt before. But before that's even possible, he has to be open to the idea of it being possible. These doors being open is like his mind, heart, and soul being open, right? And these doors being closed here is like his mind, heart, and soul being closed. Because if a man doesn't actually feel like falling in love is even a possibility in the cards for him, something that he wants or desires for himself, he will never get there. In fact, something very weird and strange about men, if they're in this stage here, where they're closed in their heart, mind, and soul, off to the idea of even falling in love with anyone, what will happen is, even if you are that amazing woman with all of the qualities that he's ever wanted in his entire life, and you're absolutely perfect and he can even recognize that, what will happen is, because he is in a place in his heart and his mind where he is closed off to the idea of falling in love, he will still hold himself back. No matter how amazing it is with you, no matter how much time you spend together, he will hold a part of himself back from completely letting go. And what will happen is, down the line, as the relationship goes on and on and on, you'll feel like something's missing. You'll feel like he's not completely here with you, because the man is going to be taking some of that of his heart and some of his soul and keeping it for himself, trying to keep it protected because he's not ready to receive love. He's also not ready to completely give love. Point number two is about intrigue. Now, something you must notice. Remember, I told you there are prerequisites for men. In order for them to first fall in love with you, they need to be in place first. So we also have intrigue. You have to understand with men, everything is like a gauge. I want you taking notice of this as well, because with men, the level of interest that they have in you based on what they see you as when they first see you, you know what I mean? What you look like, and the vibe that you give off in that first encounter is going to drastically affect his interest level in you. Now, there's good news and bad news here. The bad news, we'll start with that, is that this process of that first encounter is really going to determine a lot of this here, okay? The curiosity. However, it's not only and solely going to be based on your looks. In fact, if the first time he's getting to see you is also his first real encounter with you, this can drastically shift after that first encounter. So what I mean by that is his interest could start a little bit down here, just simply based on your looks without ever meeting you. And then by the time he actually meets you and has that first real encounter with you, his interest is shot up to here. But what I want you to understand is after that first encounter, this is then directly going to be correlated to his level of interest. So what does that really mean? That means that he will not be curious about you if he does not have a high level of interest in you. This is also kind of referred to as intrigue, because this curiosity is what's going to motivate him to say, yes, I'm interested in her and I'm curious about her. So because of that, I'm going to take action on this curiosity and this intrigue by asking her out on more dates, by trying to get her number and see her more days than just today. So the reason I say that is because without this interest, which leads to curiosity and intrigue, which then leads to him asking you out on more dates, there's no possibility of falling in love. So what I want you to understand is when you're meeting men, you want to also be gauging what is his real level of interest in you. See, one of the easy mistakes to make is to not be gauging this and you be the one pushing the relationship forward, or you being the one trying to ask him out or get his number on the second date or whatever the case may be. Because what you're not doing is you're not able to properly gauge his level of interest in you, and it could be down here or even all the way down here. And you might end up on a date with a guy whose level of interest in you is very low. But the problem with that is if his interest in you is very low, so is his curiosity in you. But he's on a date with you, not because he had a lot of curiosity and wanted to take action on that curiosity, but because you did a lot of the progressing of the relationship and a lot of the pursuing of the relationship. Do you see how now it snowballs into a larger problem when you end up on a date with a man who you've been pursuing? Because now you end up on a date with a man who has low interest in you and low curiosity in you. And because of that low interest and low curiosity, there's a very lack of desire to pursue this relationship and progress it forward on his part. But there's also not the right environment for him to even be able to fall in love. Because remember, I said at the beginning, there are certain prerequisites that have to be in place. That just means rules, okay? That have to be in place in order for men to even have the possibility of falling in love. Without interest, intrigue, and curiosity, he will not fall in love. Point number 3 is about categorization. Why? Because men have to decide for themselves, who are you going to be in his life? What do I mean by that? See, let's break it down in its most simplest terms. There are unserious women and there are serious women. You can really only be one of the two. Now, over the course of time, I will tell you this. There could be a little bit of an overlap where you could kinda at certain times be a little bit of both. And as he's getting to know you, sometimes he's going to think to himself, maybe she's a little bit unserious. And sometimes he might think to himself, maybe she's a little bit more of the serious category. But what will happen eventually is at one point or another, he will decide for himself for sure and for final which category you're in. Now, what does that consist of? That consists of the way you talk about yourself, the way you talk about your past relationships, especially the way you talk about the future that you desire for yourself, how sure or unsure you are about your own decisions, how well you set boundaries and stand on those boundaries, because men are gauging that from the very beginning. All of these factors will tell him and communicate to him, are you a serious girl, meaning someone he would want to, AKA wife? Or are you an unserious girl, which we can just describe as a you know what, okay? So the reason I'm saying this is because this is such an important part of whether men will even allow themselves to fall in love with you. Because if they meet you and they decide to themselves you're an unserious woman or just a woman that he shouldn't take seriously, then what he's also going to decide is if he's going to continue messing with you, in the process of messing with you, right, he is not going to allow himself to catch feelings, right? No feelings. The reason I say that is because when men mature, they get to a point where they realize if I'm dealing with an unserious girl, it makes no sense to be allowing your heart to really be invested in anything that's going on here, okay? So I'll also put in here no investment, okay? Because, see, men are very weird. They know how to spend time with someone without really giving their true, authentic, full self to that person. It's a very weird thing that happens. And it may have happened to you if you've been with a man for a long period of time, only to realize down the line that he didn't feel the same way as you. Men can kind of like switch off their feelings when they make a decision that this is an unserious situation and I'm with an unserious woman. So we want to make sure we present you as a serious woman. That way, when he decides to himself that you are actually someone he should be taking seriously because you have the qualities of a serious woman, now we can have real investment, okay? And real investment also means him giving his true authentic self to you in this relationship. And him, remember, like we said at the beginning, him actually being open in his heart, his mind, his body, his soul, his spirit, to allowing himself to completely fall into the process and experience of being in love with you and feeling exactly what he feels. Because the ironic part is that even in a situation in which he's with a woman who he deems to himself to be unserious, someone that he doesn't want a wife, right? He might end up actually catching some feelings. But as soon as he feels those feelings coming within him, he'll say, no, 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 we're not doing that here. Because this is not the type of woman you want to be falling head over heels in love with. So even if you feel things, suppress them. And suppress them very deep and suppress them a lot. Never let them come out, okay? This can also happen if a man has adopted the mindset that he is not open to the possibility of falling in love. Remember, I told you there are very important rules that have to be in place for a man to even fall in love. We're very logical thinkers. So in order for us to let our emotions run wild, we have to feel like certain things are present and here, because it makes sense to us if those things are present, that we can then let ourselves go. If we don't feel like certain things are present, it's very difficult for us to let ourselves go. Point number 4 is about expectations, because men need to have an understanding that what you want and what you expect from this relationship, he's actually able to provide. As he begins dating you and getting to know you better, he's gonna get an understanding of what your standards are, okay? The line and the bar and the threshold that you need for any man you're gonna be in a romantic relationship with. Now, here's a reality that will probably be painful for you. Men then decide, based on what they're going through in their life, their own capabilities, their understandings, and their desires. They're going to then decide, based on her standards, do I fall below the threshold here, right, of what she's expecting and what I can give and what I have to offer? Or am I someone who's very much capable of meeting her standards and also having the desire to meet these standards because of how much interest and curiosity I have, like we talked about before? The reason I'm pointing this very important thing out to you is because these expectations will drastically change if a man is even willing to continue on with the situation once he comes to the realization that he either may or may not be able to meet your standards. Because, like I said before, men are very logical thinkers. So it's very difficult for us to even see a purpose in investing ourselves in a situation in which we don't see an end goal or we don't see light at the end of the tunnel. So if we come into a situation and we actually believe that we're not going to get our desired outcome, which may be being with you in a long-term serious relationship, because we can't meet your standards, because we know we're not where we're supposed to be at in our life in order to get to those standards that you have for a man, then we will give up. And this is very sad, and I want you to really take this in because it's a very weird thing that us men do. See, and you can talk to your other guy friends or even your dad or a brother and ask him this personally. Do guys, right? This is the thing that we do. We have a girl in mind a lot of times where we think to ourselves, man, if I ever got the opportunity to be with that girl, I'll get my credit right. I'll get my money right. I'll get my career right. I'll lose weight. I'll get a chiseled face. I'll get a six-pack. I'm going to, you know what I mean? I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to drive a Lamborghini. Once I get my life right, I'm going to go for that girl, right? Or before I go for that girl, I need to get this and this and this and this and this together, right? Men will think like that a lot of times, especially if they have one particular woman in mind. But here's the thing, right? If he ends up in a situation, because I remember I told you at the beginning, the timeline in which you meet a man will also affect his mindset at that particular time. So sometimes you'll meet a man and when he's in a place in his life where he feels like, I just don't have it. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I need to be. And I'm damn sure not where I'm supposed to be if I'm going to be with a woman who I deem to be very valuable, who I deem to be very gorgeous, who I deem to be very desirable, who I also know will have very, very high standards. And I also know that because of her high standards and because of the fact that I'm not where I know I should be in order to be with this woman, that I should just not even bother. And sometimes you may have had this happen to you where you'll meet a guy and you'll wonder to yourself, why did that guy seem to just give up? Because I kind of liked him, but it kind of seemed like he just stopped trying after a while. Sometimes guys will even meet you and realize they can't be with you because they're not where they need to be. And something about you and the quality of you as a person will actually trigger them to realizing how much more they still have to work on. And unfortunately, just like all the other prerequisites, when men realize that they're not where they should be and they still have a lot of work to do in order to be with a woman as desirable as you, they will give up on the idea of allowing themselves to fall in love. By the way, if you want personalized relationship advice from me, head down to the link in my bio at the top where it says private relationship advice. Click that, submit your question, as many details as you want, and I'm gonna respond with a voice message to you, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, and I'm gonna give you some comprehensive details of personal relationship advice or perspective on your situation. Point number 5 is about action. What I want you to realize for men is that investment and feelings are actually one and the same. This is going to sound very strange because you're very different. For men, as they take more action for you, right? They're putting more and more, I guess we can say, coins in this investment pot. Okay, I'm just making them X's. As he deposits more and more coins in this investment pot, simultaneously, his feelings for you are going up and up and up. Because what men understand, the way our brains work, is as we take action for you, it actually helps us realize how much we care about you. And subsequently, the more investment we put into you, the more action we take for you, the more we recognize our own feelings for you, and the deeper of a bond we feel towards you. Because we understand as men, not so much how to talk about our feelings, but we understand how to show our feelings for our woman through action for her. So when we continue to do that, we realize within ourselves, the only way we can continue to take action for a woman like this is if we truly care about her, right? That's how we correlate love. So the reason I'm saying this is because I also want you to be seeing this or taking notice of this. Because for men, if they're not taking action for you, right, or taking very little action for you in this relationship, then the same thing applies. His feelings will be going down for you, if not already non-existent. And I want you to understand how important this is. Please, if you don't remember anything, remember this. Men will only fall in love with you if they are investing in you. And I'm not just talking about financial investment, because when I say investment, I know a lot of you guys think money. I'm not talking about money. When I say a man investing in you, I'm talking about taking action for you in every sense of the word. I'm talking about investing in you emotionally. I'm talking about investing in you spiritually. I'm talking about putting time, energy, and focus into you. I'm talking about having heart-to-hearts with you. I'm talking about taking care of you when you're sick. I'm talking about solving problems for you at work. I'm talking about like every single thing that a man can do for you emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically, all of that, eating you out, everything, okay? All of that is investment that he puts in you. Men understand how to be problem solvers. There's a reason we have the term happy wife, happy life, because men understand if I take action for my woman is happy, I'm happy, okay? And everyone's happy. Men also understand that if they don't feel things for a woman, and if they don't really love that woman, then subsequently they're going to be taking a lot less action for her, okay? Investment, aka action, is always correlated to a man's feelings. They cannot fall in love with you unless they're taking action for you. If he's taking a lot of action for you, then his feelings go up. If he's not, his feelings go down. Point number 6 is about the inner child. Ooh, I really want you to focus on this because this is such an important part of men's ability to fall in love. You might not realize how important this is, but see, men, we have this inner child within us. that never really goes away. You know how they say men mature slower than women? That's because when we're boys, we're at our most curious, we're at our most creative. The world is like our oyster. We just go around exploring things, laughing, digging ourselves in the dirt. Like we're a very, very unique version of ourselves. And then as we grow up, we're told to be serious. We're told to not have as many emotions except for anger. And we're told to just kind of like be more stoic and less curious and more focused on just doing what we're told to do and not thinking about anything outside of that, almost like a version of being a soldier. But this is a problem in multiple ways. The main way it's a problem, though, is that in your relationship with him, there's going to be a deep burning desire for him to feel like he can still be this inner child with you. Meaning, this inner child that likes to laugh, that likes to have fun, that likes to tell jokes, that likes to be curious, that likes to be weird and quirky and say weird things and blurt out weird things and not filter his thoughts. That inner child has a desire to come out in your relationship. And let me tell you some honest truth here, okay? I'm just going to be very real with you. Some women that men will get into relationships with will create an environment in which the man does not feel comfortable bringing that inner child out. Why? Because he'll realize over the course of time in the relationship that if he brings this inner child out, so imagine this inner child steps out here. If he brings this inner child out of him and he shows that to that woman will judge him, will shame him, and essentially tell him, you're bad for bringing that inner child out. I don't want to see it, and I want you to suppress it and continue being the stoic man that I've been wanting you to be. Don't make those type of jokes. They're inappropriate. Don't say those type of things, though. That's weird. Don't talk like this. You're a strange person. I'm judging you. All of these things will make a man feel like, oh, well, I guess, I can't have fun. I guess I can't joke. I guess I can't be myself. Okay? This is horrible. Men will find it essentially impossible to fall in love when they feel like their inner child cannot come out, right? When they feel like their inner child must continue to be suppressed, it'll be impossible for them to fall in love. Because this curiosity, this yearning for life, this, wide-eyed, seeing color, digging yourself in the dirt, just enjoying what life has to offer, you don't want your man to ever lose that. Because when he loses that, he's going to lose that twinkle in his eye. He's going to lose that passion towards you and his relationship with you, because that also exists in this inner child, right? That passion for life and that passion for other people. When you suppress that inner child, not only are you suppressing all of the fun that he wants to have with you and in this relationship with you, you're also suppressing all of that passion that he should be bringing to his relationships, okay? And especially his relationship with you. And what you're gonna find is this man will find it pretty much impossible to allow himself to fully let go, because love and falling in love is also about letting go of control of yourself, letting go of control of your emotions, letting go of your heart, and really giving it to someone else who you're not sure what they're gonna do with it. But you have to understand, the only way to truthfully let go is to feel accepted. And a man can't feel accepted if he feels like his inner child is constantly being suppressed and told not to exist in the open, because he needs to be someone totally different, a stand-up straight guy who doesn't say certain things and doesn't do certain things because that's what you want instead. Point number 7 is about appreciation. Something you will definitely underestimate is a man's desire to feel appreciated wherever he's at. See, when men are at their most comfortable, they feel like they're also desired. But see, your version of desire and a man's version of desire is two different desires. See, you have a desire to feel like your man actually wants you, thinks you're attractive, thinks you're sexy, wants to be around you, wants to touch you, wants to feel you. That's your version of desire. Men also have a version of desire, except for them, it's really appreciation, because they want to feel like they're wanted where they are. You see, when men are in a place where they don't feel appreciated, right? They feel very, very uncomfortable. And they feel uncomfortable because they feel like, well, if I'm not wanted here, then why am I here? Maybe I should stop being me. When men don't feel appreciated, they also do a lot more suppressing of their emotions, suppressing of their desires, suppressing of their thoughts and their feelings. Now remember, like I said, if men don't feel like they can be themselves, if they don't feel like they can be authentic to who they are, they're never going to allow themselves to let go. We talked about being open at the beginning. This is part of the open process. Men are going to start to become very closed off when they feel like they're not appreciated. It's going to create a desire for him to want to really, really leave. Okay? Because when a man feels appreciated, or when he gets into an environment, think of these as environments here. When he can get himself into an environment where he feels appreciated, this is where he wants to stay, right? This is where he wants to be real, right? This is where he wants to express all of these amazing things that you want men doing with you. Because if he's feeling this, then he's feeling his ability to let himself go and let himself feel. I told you, men are very logical thinkers. If we don't have things in place, we find it difficult to allow ourselves to just let go of our emotions and be honest with ourselves of what we feel and what we want. We're emotional beings, but we kind of leave that locked behind a very thick and very hard to get open door. So what you want to understand is men's desire to feel appreciated is going to be the difference between whether they allow themselves to even fall in love or not. Because when they do feel appreciated and they feel wanted and they feel like you want them to be there, want to be around them, that you appreciate their presence and appreciate the things that they do for you, right? Then he feels like, okay, this is a place where I should be, because this is a place where I'm desired. It's like a man's version of desire. Point number 8 is about men being a baby around you. See, what you have to understand is when men go out into the world, they have to present a very particular side of themselves. They have to present this really hard exterior here. Now, I'm talking about the exterior in terms of their emotional state, their spiritual state, their mental state, because they need to be a man, like a soldier. They need to stand up straight. They need to be hard. They need to be able to take it. And they need to be able to not say anything about it when it hurts them or they feel pain, right? This is the emotional state that men have to go out into the world in order to survive and in order to thrive. It's kind of like, a version of, the hunters and gatherers when we used to be cavemen. Because the men with the hard exterior are the ones that actually make it through the winter, okay? So that mentality is what he goes out into the world with. However, this mentality of this hard shell, this I don't feel things, I'm a hard, strong man, I'm capable of doing anything, I have ultra confidence in myself, and I never get sad or any emotion except for anger, that's great when he goes out into the world. However, when he comes and he is around you, right? So I'll even put here with you, you want this part of him to be presented, this soft core, this soft, gooey, mushy inside. Okay, don't think of it in a dirty way. The reason I'm saying this is because men have a very deep desire to be the softer, lighter, more emotional side of themselves with just you. He's not trying to do that with everyone else, okay? And he's not even trying to show that with everyone else. But men do want you to soften them up. They want to have a soft spot for you. You're his woman. You're the apple of his eye. You're supposed to make him a little bit softer. And when you can bring that out of him, that softer side, even though he's really hardcore, okay? And when you guys go out in public, you can literally see him. This is something that you'll notice, right? If you're really softening up your man, it's a little bit of a pro tip, you'll notice that when you guys are together, he's real nice and soft. But if you guys go out somewhere together, you'll notice literally as you guys are getting ready and going out, you'll notice him like stiffen up. You'll notice his energy feels a little bit different, and you'll notice him kind of like hardcore it. You know what I mean? And when he's talking to people, you'll start to see a different side of him because you're used to seeing this soft part of him when it's just you and him. But now that you guys are around other people, he has to put back on this hard shell. And the only time you'll see or experience this soft core again is if you guys are sharing a moment or you guys are talking directly to each other. Because what should be happening when men are really falling in love is they'll start to present to you and only around you this softer side of themselves. Okay, so if you're ever trying to see if you can gauge whether this is happening or not, ask some of his guy friends about how is he around them versus how is he around you. If you hear them make comments like, damn, he is totally different when he's around you, or he is so much nicer when he's around you, that's a clear sign that he's letting that baby out. He's letting that softer side out. He's letting that more emotional side out, where he's going to discover so many more things about himself, because finally he's in a place where he feels safe enough letting that part of him out. Because trust me, as a man, it's very difficult for us to feel safe enough to let anyone see anything else except this hard shell on the outside. But it's a beautiful thing when we finally feel safe and comfortable enough emotionally and spiritually to be much softer around you.